Hello everyone, Wastelanders, Adventurers, Spacefarers. I'm Caedo Genesis. This is my co-host Bad Company Sarge.
Hello there.
And this is the PIPCAST 3000, where we do a topic about, I don't know, Bethesda-oriented or open-world RPG kind of things.
It's a real weird time to be a Bethesda tuber.
It sure is. We sometimes do a little bit of gaming news prior, and I don't know, talk about some cool stuff that we would like to see in games or complain about things that we've seen in games. Our last episode was about how damage is sometimes really broken in the player's favor and also sometimes not in the player's favor in the last episode. And that was a fun topic to rant about, I think.
Yeah.
But this episode is going to be about what improvements does Starfield still need, because it's been getting some pretty chunky patches since launch that do improve the user experience, and you'll see on the B-roll, if you're watching on the YouTube side or showing the video on Spotify side, you'll see me driving around in the new Rev-8 Buggy, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But for now, I want to say thank you to the Wasteland Legends of the Caedo Genesis channel, Sven and Rose. Thank you so much for your support. And why don't we move on to a comment of the cast, Sarge?
Yes. So, Hybe at HAIB9631, that's the username. Apologies, I've got no idea how to even go about pronouncing it. Says, not sure how this keeps happening, but I'm always getting almost, well, oh my god, my brain cannot, with almost, oh no, says, but I'm always getting almost, there we go, instant killed by Assaultron head lasers, even in full power armor. And you replied to that.
Yep, because that was one of the ones we didn't talk about in the damage complaint episode.
Yes, and I know why I didn't talk about it. And you got to see that on my stream last night, because I came across an Assaultron and I went bang, 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 bang.
And then he died. Yes.
Yeah. I either avoid the laser because I'm really far away, or if I'm close up, I just shoot like crazy till it's dead.
Yep.
And that's how you avoid the Assaultron laser problem.
Sometimes that method works.
Yep.
Yep.
It was quite funny doing it in last night's stream, though, because I was on survival mode and like an hour or so through since my last save. So it was... either I kill the Assaultron in a few seconds, or it kills me in a few seconds.
Yep. It was succeed or go back to where you started.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to make a choice, make a decision.
Yep.
And you made the right one.
Yeah.
You survived. You got Virgil's research.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you're probably not going back to see him.
No, screw Virgil. Don't care about him.
Which makes me sad for Virgil. Even though he's got more of a dynamic personality than Dr. Lee.
Oh no. Caedo, this isn't a Dr. Lee episode.
By the way, everyone, I have a seething hatred for Dr. Lee in Fallout, in case you didn't know. Funny part about showing up at Sarge's stream yesterday is I clicked on his stream right before the quest to find Dr. Lee in Fallout 4 started.
Yeah.
Like, Sarge said Dr. Lee seconds after I clicked on the stream, as if I were summoned.
It was great, because it's not like you show up to every single stream, but the one that was most focused on your hated character is for when you were there for, like, pretty much from the point
majority. The majority of that stream was appeasing Dr. Lee. Well, at least when I was playing, I got to quick save and kill her in so many ways.
Yep. And
then continue with the quest. So, anyway, thank you, Hive9631, for the Assaultron comment. Because, yeah, Assaultrons are brutal, and they have finishers with their head lasers, too. Like, if they get in melee range to you and they're charged up, like, they will grab you and laser you point blank. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But also kind of bullcrap because of Bethesda's finishers bypassing anything the player can do sometimes. It's a little of both. But like I said, if you want to be a comment of the cast related to our topic, Starfield stuff, what kind of changes you would want to see in Starfield still, because it does, arguably need some more work. Or if you have things about Gamescom that you enjoyed seeing and want to talk about, if you don't care about big game shows like that, we have timestamps as well, so you can skip to the topic at hand where we can rant about stuff. But we're also going to be ranting about some of the Gamescom stuff too. So why don't we start with the big car-shaped elephant in the room? Starfield got a free update. Something players wanted from launch was something to traverse the barren worlds a lot more quickly, and in this case, all worlds. You can drive through cities with it.
Oh yes.
The Rev-8 Buggy was added to Starfield in a free update. And have you tried it out, Sarge?
I have. I re-downloaded Starfield, which it took a while, and then clicking on play then sent me to 2 hours of loading for the game as it was syncing everything, and just an absolute nightmare. But I eventually got to jump in and try out the Buggy, and I have thoughts and feelings about it.
Are you going to share both at the same time, or are you going to separate them out, like feelings first and then thoughts?
I don't think I can separate them, honestly.
Okay.
I wouldn't know how to go about that. I do think this is a good and important update for the game. I'm very glad it's free. And,
Me too.
actually free, not a creation club thing where you have to go in and we're giving away for free temporarily. It's just part of the game now. You just get it, all good, nice and simple. It's like a little module or thing you add to your ship. It's not even like a proper module. You just talk to the technician and be like, I want a vehicle. And it's like, cool, you've got a vehicle.
It's like 25,000 credits or something like that. Like, it's got an entry cost.
Yeah.
But once you've got it, you've got it. So.
Yep. And then you have it. And the first thing I did, of course, was drive through the place where I got it, which was New Atlantis.
Yeah.
And its combat capabilities are stupid. Because it's
stupid as in good or bad?
Well, it's not that it's very good in an offensive sense. Like, I was blasting enemies and just, like, regular NPCs, and it was taking multiple shots to take them down. And the hunter, who's just, in New Atlantis, and decides to attack when you drive a car by him. He took basically no damage from it. Like, killing him would be pretty much impossible, because the little laser cannon thing it's got on top isn't particularly strong, and running people over does virtually no damage. I think it's literally a point of impact damage sort of thing. So actually killing anyone with it was not very good, but you're nigh on unkillable while in it, because you're just armoured up and people struggle to hit you, and the vehicle doesn't seem to have health of its own. So you basically have to be shot while you're covered by, like, the framework of a vehicle and getting bonus armour and stuff, which means you can just kind of drive around and not care about anything, because nothing's going to hurt you.
Yep.
Yeah, so combat capabilities
is that
stupid.
Is that a negative or a positive?
Both.
Or is it's
I think
a thing that exists.
Yeah, depending on the type of player you are as well, it's going to change things for you. If you're someone who likes gameplay to be challenging and balanced and stuff, you're not going to like that. If you just want to mess around and have fun in a car, you're going to appreciate that death is almost impossible while in it. I will say on the driving it front, it drives weird. Not terrible, and it does work. I tried a few different planets. But the driving's a little clunky, but certainly not unusable. I should say I'm using mouse and keyboard as well. Typically, driving vehicles is a lot easier on controller. Did you use controller while testing it?
I used mouse and keyboard, actually. It wasn't bad. Like, it's kind of what I expected.
Yeah.
Like, I play a lot of Fortnite mouse and keyboard as well. And the Wrecked season, that last season, was very much a vehicle-based season.
Yeah.
And the vehicles in that actually kind of controlled very similarly. Not as loosey-goosey as the Rev-8 feels, but also Epic has a whole development team to like work on their vehicles specifically. So and that comes through for sure. But for what we get, I think the Rev-8 is like a mixture between the Warthog and the Mako.
Yes.
Warthog from Halo, Mako from
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Mass Effect. Like, it's got a little bit of jank to it, but it's manageable.
Yeah.
Like, because if you start, and I also noticed that planet conditions seem to affect its traction as well, which is actually kind of cool. I kind of like that. Where I had parked it on a hill on an ice planet, it just slowly slid down the hill because it's ice.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you're on a dust ball planet or a rocky planet, like it'll stay put. At least it seems like that's how it works. As well as like if it's a low gravity situation, you're gonna be bouncing around a lot more.
Oh, so much. You can fully fly in this thing on the lowest gravity planets.
Yeah, if you're on low gravity planets, yeah, you can just fly in the vehicle.
Because I'm very glad they implemented like a jump boost to it, where you just go vertically up. Because otherwise you get stuck.
I don't think it would have been.
So
No, it wouldn't have been usable if they hadn't had something like that. That's why I referenced the Mako as well, because the same thing would happen, and that thing's like 3 times the size of the Rev-8, and like it would get stuck everywhere.
Yeah.
In Mass Effect. So except the Mako has a superior cannon though too. So because it just pretty much one-shots everything.
Yeah. Before talking more about the vehicle, I want to quickly mention that I had a new bug that I've never seen before when I booted up Starfield and went to explore planets, which is
the lack of texture?
Default planet material. The swap hasn't occurred. You shouldn't be seeing this, is what all the planets say.
Yeah, the solution was restarting your game.
Yeah, I just was like, cool. Planets just have this weird developer message on them now.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny too. But that was like, I went directly to the Bethesda Discord just to see if everybody else was having the same thing, and then I think it was one of the devs or one of the moderators that were just like, yeah, just restart your game, it should work. Yep. And I did it and it worked. So
turn it off and on again.
Yep, the old flip the switch.
Considering how many hours it took me to boot up the game, I was unwilling to do that just in case.
Yeah, I understand. And also like I don't think it did anything like permanent damage wise anyway. It was just the planetary maps that were having the issue as far as I could tell. So like as soon as you were planet side, like it wasn't an issue.
Yep. And speaking about maps, I reached the end of the map while driving. Did you have this occur?
Nope.
Yeah, now that you can move faster, which I tested it, and the standard driving speed is about the same as player sprinting speed. I believe player sprinting speed on AMP is like the same as the standard driving speed in this vehicle, and the boost is like a 20% increase to speed or something pretty minor. So this thing isn't that fast.
Are they using like the horse speed trick still?
I think there's a bit of that going on. Like, it is actually faster. It's not as bad as the horse speed trick and stuff, but it's not like you're zooming along in a car. This is like a little 4x4 buggy thing, which is powered by sprinkles or something low energy. I'm not a vehicle person.
Yeah.
But yeah, this thing isn't very fast. Despite the fact it's not very fast, I did make it to the edge of a map, because when you land somewhere, you just get basically put in a square, and if you just keep going forward, you will hit the edge and then just not be able to move forward. Because even though you're able to explore everywhere, you have to go back in your ship and then land like a millimeter away from your landing zone, and it'll be a new one, because it's all just procedurally based. It's not actually a full planet. I also got to see the grass grow.
Yeah, grass pop in is much more pronounced when you drive.
If you're just driving forward at full speed, you'll watch the grass grow out of the ground because the game can't render it in a distance easily.
Yeah, but it's better than like how poppin' used to be, for sure. I feel anyway.
Yeah, it does look like it's just sprouting from the ground, which is kind of amusing, but also a clear showcase of why they couldn't really make you go much faster. because the game's very much struggling to.
Like even like I still can't get the game to run at a comfortable 60. Like it just won't, and I don't know what else I can do. Like I even dropped my monitor resolution down to 1440 again, and it still has a hard time, and I'm just like, what the frick, what do I have to do to make it not sound like my computer's gonna take off, and also make sure that the game runs at 60?
Yeah, I had some weird stuff initially with the game where I was like, oh, I better run it on lower graphics settings so it runs smoother. And it turned out that putting everything to ultra made it run smooth. And I was like, that makes no sense.
It's so weird. Like, because like some games do that for me too. But this one, it doesn't matter. It does not matter what settings I put it at. It's like hanging around 50 or so, 60 if I'm indoors. But like any like planet side exploration, especially if it has any like trees, like it's just like, I can't handle this, and I'm like, why not though? Or like Aquila City, because for whatever reason that is a performance nightmare when New Atlantis isn't as much. It's so weird. It's so weird. We're talking about topic stuff in the news section, Sarge. I think we should probably...
Overall, it's good that the vehicle's in here.
Yes.
But it's still Starfield with all of Starfield's problems.
Yes,
you can just drive around those problems now.
Yeah.
However, let's talk about a game which will have 0 problems and everyone will love.
Everyone.
I'm already reading the comments and everyone loves the Elder Scrolls Castles.
Your parents, your kids, your dog, everybody.
Yeah. Your dog's got a phone, right?
Yeah, there's Khajiit in the game, so your cats will enjoy it, for sure.
So the Elder Scrolls Castles is something we've talked about quite a lot on the podcast already. Like in
even
previous
if we knew
episodes.
nothing?
Yeah. Our main talking point was, is this game actually real?
Because does it exist?
I think it's been like a couple of years now where Bethesda really wasn't acknowledging that the Elder Scrolls Castles was really a thing. And like a couple of countries could play a beta version at one point or something. But now we've got an actual video on Bethesda Softworks, the Elder Scrolls Castles Developer Deep Dive. And it's clearly a deep game because they've got 5 minutes of talking about it.
Yeah. I think it was a smart move jumping in and comparing it to Fallout Shelter right off the bat. Because that probably saved them some face. But part of the problem is the Elder Scrolls doesn't have the benefit of the Vault Boy aesthetic.
Yeah, this does not look Elder Scrolls. There is nothing about this. The only thing you see on screen when you go, oh yeah, that's an Elder Scrolls thing, is there's a gold coin, which is on its like side as well, so you can only partially see the like
the Imperial
Septim Dynasty
Imperial
icon,
Dragon.
Yeah, that little icon. And even the stuff they're building, the characters you see in the game and stuff, none of that is like, oh yeah, this is Elder Scrolls.
Yeah. Like, the closest you get is seeing an Argonian.
Yeah, but, like, it's just a lizard person, which is far from a fantasy new thing. Like, it's
I don't know.
Yeah. It's a very strange art style on everyone. You do have stuff like it will say, oh, this character's a red guard. But that's like it.
Yeah, even for SEO purposes, the first line is Castles is a spiritual successor to Fallout Shelter.
Yeah. The gameplay is very clearly just Fallout Shelter, but we did a fantasy version. Yeah.
What else is there to say? It's Elder Scrolls Fallout Shelter, but with none of the charm.
Yep. The comments are quite fun. People being like, plot twist, this is Elder Scrolls 6.
Oh.
Some people being like, oh, yes, Bethesda still released this game, even though it might have been popular in 2008 if it came free with Facebook. Comparing it to that. It's just an out-of-season April Fool's joke. There's a lot of quotes of, do you guys have phones?
Oh.
A lot of people just being like, oh, Bethesda sucks now. Yeah. Bethesda's really burnt through goodwill quite quickly in the past several years, I suppose, at this point.
Yeah,
It's
I suppose.
like they haven't had like a overwhelming popular release since Fallout 4, I want to say.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, I think.
Which, does mean they've gone from the developers of Skyrim and being able to just use that to be like, yeah, these guys are great, to being in a much weirder place in the gaming landscape. So when they show off a game like this, where people are understandably a bit like, I'm not so sure, there's less benefit of the doubt being given.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because we've been through some rough or mediocre launches. Over the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's been
maybe
quite
6
a while now.
Yeah.
Like, I say this as someone who enjoyed 76 at launch as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like... Well,
it was busted, though.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Mm-hmm.
Part of why Sarge and I stuck with it, though, is because of what we do.
Yeah.
I have a feeling. And also,
it definitely does help,
we had each other to deal with the suffering.
Yeah.
It's like, trauma bonding, that's a thing.
I mean, I did genuinely enjoy plenty of my time in it, which I think is the difference between that and Starfield.
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh, this is also a bad release, but there's not like some fun just running around with people shooting Mirelurks sort of gameplay I can do.
Yeah, Starfield was, like, we were optimistic, like, when it came to the story stuff. Like, the story stuff felt a lot more, I don't know, fun to engage with the first time through.
Mm-hmm.
The companions were a lot more fleshed out, but also we eventually learned the downside of them not shutting the hell up when you do anything on your ship. So, it was a mixed bag, and which is why I put it like middle of the road kind of thing. Like, it's a Bethesda game. You can spend 100 hours plus in the game still if you want.
Yep. But I hope everyone's looking forward to Caedo and I changing our channels into Elder Scrolls Castles channels exclusively come September. And we're all gonna have a great time with that.
Last episode I talked about us becoming creations channels.
Oh. But that costs so much money. I don't get these channels who are constantly like reviewing Creation Club stuff, because I feel like they've got to be losing money on it. Like,
I feel like they might actually gain money on it.
I mean, some of the
because
really big ones, sure.
People are curious. Like, they can pay for themselves if they get a few thousand views.
More than a few thousand, unless you're getting much better ad rates than me. I feel like
they probably are. That's the thing. Like, if you're on Bethesda's back all the time covering their stuff, yeah, you're probably getting better ad rates.
I suppose.
I mean, my freaking leveling guide is still carrying my rent payments.
That's getting tons of views though. I feel like most of the Creation Club stuff we're covering stuff I see that's done like on a weekly basis or a multiple times a week basis. It's for something that costs like $5 and gets a few thousand views.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how those channels manage it.
I feel like it probably balances out for them. Because, I mean, well, Zero Period Productions, ZP George, he also, does like mod long plays and stuff like that, and also streams, so he's got a little bit of everything.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big established channel, though.
Yeah.
I feel like any big established channel, not gonna worry. But anyway, we've very much gone off topic. Let's talk about Avowed.
Yay! We should mention that lots of things happen at Gamescom, and we're picking and choosing. We're cherry picking the ones that seem to be relevant to us. Mm-hmm. And we're also opening the floor to commenters to be a comment of the cast if you want to talk about what you saw at Gamescom, or you just want to complain about Starfield, which we're going to do later.
Yep.
So, let's talk about Avowed, Sarge.
Yeah, Avowed looks decent.
Yeah.
I'm currently on like the character screen. We've got this big 31-minute long gameplay demo production thing that we've got linked. And looking at like the attributes and stuff. We got might, constitution, dexterity, perception, intellect, and resolve. They all do like interesting stuff like boosting stamina, giving extra carry weight, extra action speed, extra range. Like, this all seems like good stuff to me.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a solid framework for an RPG.
Well, the framework was already existed, and it's been made for first-person RPG now, or retooled for first-person RPG now, because for anybody who didn't catch it, Avowed is in the same world as Pillars of Eternity. So a lot of those systems are kind of moved over or converted into being usable in this form, which is cool. Having a foundation is good.
Yeah.
And I saw that they were playing a godlike, which is a being that is blessed by their patron god when they are born, which is kind of cool. I don't know which god that is, though. It's an aquatic one, I think, because they have coral head horn things.
I feel like I heard something about this on a previous developer diary sort of style thing, where they talked about how you're a godlike, but you don't know for which god. And that's got some tie into the story. I haven't played Pillars of Eternity, or is that the right one? Yes, Pillars of Eternity yet.
That they do have like detailed background stuff too, so that might have just been background dialogue, like dialogue based on your character's background, because this is a side quest that they're covering too. So, because they have an ocean god, so I'm guessing it was the ocean god that I don't know. Anyway, I've only just played Pillars of Eternity, so like some of it's fresh in my mind, but some of it is still hazy because it's a lot of world to absorb.
Oh yes,
a lot of deep lore in Obsidian fashion.
Yeah, in something that's a bit easier to understand, the ability tree, skill tree sort of thing. I really like the look of it. It's separated into like being level 1, level 5, level 10, and level 15. And at each, basically, 5-level increment, you unlock new potential skills.
And the tabs, too, are nicely organized, even though we only really saw Wizard.
Yeah, all seems nice and clear. Like, as a build maker, this looks promising. Obviously, won't know for certain until we actually get to play with the game. Because I know there's plenty of games where it's like, oh, look at all these interesting skills. And it turns out most of them are garbage.
Well, here's the thing, too. I want to mention that they talked about the Grimoire in the gameplay here, but I don't know if you know this, Sarge, but Grimoires are like not exclusive to the player. So you can pick up another wizard spell book, and you might have other spells appearing in that tree.
Cool.
Yeah, so it might be something like that, or these might be universal spells. I'm not sure. But I think that aspect has always been kind of cool in the Pillars universe, is the Grimoire system, because you can also when you pick up an enemy's Grimoire, like you fight and kill another wizard, you can memorize their spells from their book and then put them into yours, kind of thing. Or just take theirs and use it as your own. Like it's very flexible in that way.
Yeah. You know what, we've said a lot of nice stuff about this game. I don't think it looks amazing or anything. I think visually I'm a bit like meh about it.
Okay.
It's not that it looks bad, it just doesn't look like I'd expect a good-looking modern game to look, if you get my drift. Like, this is what good-looking games looked like 10 years ago in my memory. Like, this would have been yeah, this looks amazing 10 years ago, but now it's kind of just like, yeah, that's fine.
With the video quality, it's kind of hard to tell, too.
Yeah, we won't be certain until we actually get to see it.
But their interface, too, is a bit, I want to call it minimalist. But we also saw that in the Outer Worlds, too.
Yeah.
Like, they take a very minimalist approach for showing the information necessary, more so than going for, like, fanciful. Like, I mean, Starfield is a comparison too. Like, if you look at the Starfield menu, like, it goes to its own separate thing. Your character's in the center. You have all these weird, like, menu tiles and stuff like that. Whereas this one's just got classic tabs, which I'm okay with. I kind of like that myself. It's like, show me the thing that I'm looking for specifically without tanking my frame rate. Because, complain about Starfield, the menus would tank your frame rate.
Yeah.
That should never be a thing, and yet games are dealing with that now. Because they're like, oh, we need to make sure people see the art style of the game everywhere they are, including the menus. No. Show us the information.
I will say a potential positive is if the game's not been focused at being like the most graphical fidelity possible, hopefully that will mean that you don't need a ridiculous PC to play on the higher settings and stuff.
That is
the positive
hopefully a good thing. One of the things I noticed though, for the sake of like presentation and stuff like that, I noticed that the contrast was kind of cranked. Or it was just capturing at a darker level. So the dark areas of this demo were like, you couldn't really make out some things. Which does make, like, even the underwater, like, swimming spot in this dungeon that they're doing. And also, by the way, we have these things linked. There's a 30-minute demo that they showed off at Gamescom of this, which is what we're going over. But I did like the puzzling. It's not, super complicated.
Yeah.
But it's not Dragon Door simplistic. It's kind of like the middle ground between those things so far. What do you think of the combat, Sarge?
I haven't had a proper good look at the combat, I feel like. Where is the combat in this? There's so much puzzling and menus and stuff. Okay, I found some combat. I'm also kind of like neutral about the combat. This is one where if it feels good in the moment, then great. But visually just watching it isn't that interesting.
Okay.
Like, it's nice to see that there's definitely different abilities and stuff, but none of it looks to me like, oh, what a visual masterpiece of a battle. It's just like, yeah, that's first-person medieval combat sort of thing. It's what I expect. Like, there's things I like about this game, and there's things that I'm fairly neutral and meh about, but I don't think there's anything I'm like, oh, this looks bad.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, maybe the graphics argument can be made for the made against the art style too, which is why I talked about like the quality of the video. Because like I feel like it's more stylized than it is like graphically over the top.
Yep.
Which I much prefer over games anyway, because that makes them age better.
Yep. Looking at you, Kingdoms of Amalur.
Yep. Kingdoms of Amalur, still rocking it.
Yep.
Any of the Supergiant games, like, go back to Bastion, it still looks great. Because it's stylized. It's a style. It's not made to be graphically outstanding. I wanted to talk about a couple of the aspects of combat that are cool to see, like, added into a modern first-person RPG format. First of all, radar on the upper left-hand side that shows you where the frick your enemies are. Hey, Bethesda.
Bethesda has stuff similar to that.
Interesting. I mean, they have the compass.
Yeah.
Yes, but I like a radar setup too. But imagine if they have both options. Wouldn't that be cool?
Be insane. I don't believe it can ever happen.
That'd be amazing. They'd be like, haha, Bethesda, we have both. Anyway, they also have some more modern systems when it comes to just fighting itself. I noticed they had finishers. If you get the enemy's stagger bar, which is another modern system, enemy's stagger bar up to maximum, you can do a finisher on them, or do a special attack kind of thing, where you like, with the sword, they were like stabbing them and then kicking them away.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I like that. I like finishers, Bethesda. I'm sorry, I'm gonna be taking the piss at Bethesda a lot, because
I mean, Bethesda have finishers.
Not in Starfield.
No. I mean, you shoot a jetpack and that kills people in a cinematic way.
Yep.
That's kind of a finisher.
That's a finisher.
Yeah.
Out of the, like, I don't know how many Fallout 4 had that were weirdly contextual in third person, and or enemies could just do them to you.
Yep. Skyrim and Fallout 4 did great on the finishers.
Oh yeah, Skyrim did amazing. I made videos on it.
Yeah. I think melee finishes are always a bit easier than ranged ones.
Yep.
Which helps.
Also, unique items. There were a lot shown in just this dungeon. We're gonna see a lot of them. I mean, if Pillars is any indication, like, there's gonna be so many unique items in this game.
Yeah, I hope
and
so.
I'm kind of excited for that. Also, the companion is in Amawa, which are kind of like in like an islander kind of race of shark people. It's about as cool as it sounds. And Kai, which is the companion shown in the gameplay, is voiced by the same actor as Garrus.
Yes, I've already seen people thirsting in the comments.
Yep. I have Shark Garrus now, where everything is fine. We had Space Bird Garrus, now we have Shark Garrus. It's fine. It's great. With what your companions are capable of doing. I don't know if any other games like puzzle solving kind of things where you can have your companions go do a thing. Besides like other CRPGs.
Yeah.
If they're better at a skill than you are, like having them do it instead. They showed a couple of examples of that with Kai as well. Not just him doing things in combat, like point blank shooting an enemy in the face, which is really cool. Yes, there's guns in this game. But also like burning away a spider web, like a big, spider web in your path kind of thing. It feels just more tightly tuned than the Outer Worlds. Because even in the Outer Worlds, like, you only had like the super moves of your companions. Like, could they really do much? Like gameplay wise outside
they had perks which improved your skills when they were with you, I think.
Oh, was this like transferable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that.
But yeah. Also they're a blood mage build. The character they're playing is a blood mage build. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place.
You're clearly very excited about Avowed.
I'm excited for the potential of this game.
We might have to do a full Avowed topic before it comes out, but
maybe
I'll also need to play some Pillars of Eternity.
You will, Sarge.
You've very obviously played it recently, and
if hey, the upside is, since Pillars is technically a more modern CRPG, like, you can just pick story mode and just blast through
I'm 100%
the game.
Story mode.
So yeah. So do recommend if the rest of you want to do like a lore through, as it were, first-hand experience, because it's definitely possible in Pillars of Eternity. But yeah, I need to get schooled on the world of Aora, because they got deep lore, like I said, and it enriches the experience if you know some of the background of Avowed. For sure, you can tell how excited I am because I recognize things. So, but at the same time, I don't want to spoil things. But I think I've gushed about that enough. What else do we see at Gamescom, Sarge?
Well, something which I'm sure you'll be equally excited for. We got a teaser trailer for Borderlands 4.
Whoa!
And it's so funny that they decided to put this out into the world right after the Borderlands movie came out and absolutely tanked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Borderlands movie is one of the worst rated movies of all time currently.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. I think it's got like 6% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's
great. That's actually great to hear.
Everyone hates the Borderlands movie so much, and then it's like 2K Games and Gearbox come out and we've got more. It feels like they planned this so long ago, being like, yeah, everyone will be hyped from the movie, and then we announce that a new game's coming out.
Maybe they were banking on the hate-watching trend.
I mean,
maybe they were playing 4D chess with us the whole time.
It's definitely got a lot of attention, but a lot of that attention is negative, and I'm not sure how much of the bad press is still good press sort of thing is still relevant in the modern day and age, because yeah, it gets attention, but this is Borderlands we're talking about. It's not like it's an unknown thing. It was gonna get a lot of attention no matter what. But yeah, the teaser trailer shows us very little that we can work out from. It's just like, hey, Borderlands 4, it'll happen at some point, which isn't a surprise to me. And there's nothing for me to really get excited about yet, because I also don't know how literally the stuff in the trailer should be taken. But next year, Borderlands.
Yeah, the moon is shredding through reality or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then there's a hand.
Perhaps a psycho mask.
A psycho mask, and then it's like, ooh, Borderlands, and then that's it. Anyway,
yeah.
It's a short trailer. You can watch it.
Weirdly, I did reinstall Borderlands 3 recently, and Borderlands 3 got a big patch update sort of thing. So they coincided lots of things together. But Borderlands 4, we'll talk more about it when we know more about it.
Yeah. I hope Ava gets a villain arc. Because that'll justify her being a piece of crap the whole time.
I hope everyone has a villain arc. It's just all villains.
It's oops all jacks.
I kind of hope they don't bring back Handsome Jack. Like, he's a great character, but I feel like if they bring him back, it'll just be because they have to rely on him.
New Tales from the Borderlands exists.
Hmm.
And I heard such bad things about that one.
Oh.
And it is a bunch of new characters as far as I know, so like they might try to play it safe. I don't know.
We'll see.
Because they've been risk taking in the worst way. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Anyway, what else did we see besides the very timely Borderlands trailer?
Yep. We saw Black Myth Wukong, which a lot of the internet has been talking about because it's out, which I will say it's nice to see a game kind of, to be fair, it has been talked about for a while. I was going to say, like, oh, a game gets a trailer and then it's out. And it's like, yeah, but this has also had trailers years ago and stuff. It just kind of went quiet for a little bit and then was like, yeah, we're out. But whatever. I'm rambling. Yeah, Black Myth Wukong, which has become like one of the most popular games because it's based on a Journey to the West, which is a ridiculously famous Chinese folklore? Yeah, folklore, I think is going to be the best term for it. Over in China, everyone's been playing it. I saw some stuff on social media where, like, even some companies gave people time off to play the game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Some people were like, you have launch day off, and we're just doing that as a company.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, this is... I feel like there's not even a similar thing with as much love for the history and the lore of it that we have in either of our countries. Like, I could talk about Arthurian legend and stuff, and that's quite famous, but branches off in so many different ways. And I suppose in America you can talk about, like, the Wild West, like, cowboy era, but that's more historical than fantasy side.
Yeah, I mean, we have Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
If we're going that route, but, like, it's not a specific story to, like Jesse James or whatever.
Yeah.
But even so, that's steeped in a lot of conversations that about things that used to be acceptable and just aren't anymore.
Yeah. And here we can get to the other point, which is there's been some controversies around the game, and I was searching like right before the podcast, and there's still a lot of stuff which is very unclear. Because every single controversy sort of thing, whenever it gets asked of a developer or anyone working on the game or anyone who has anything to do to the game, they say no comment. And that's it.
Yep.
So, there have been some controversies.
Doesn't always happen, but in this case it did.
Yeah. It's, like, there was... It's kind of difficult to talk about a bit, because some of the stuff is unconfirmed as well. But there's a whole thing where the developers, someone on the development team said something sexist a while ago, and there hasn't been an apology, and there was also possibly something given to a few streamers saying, like, oh, don't do, like, feminist propaganda and stuff, but that's not being confirmed, because then other people didn't get it, so they're like, okay, was this faked, or did they just stop handing it out? And the team's just saying no comment, so we don't really know what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's annoying, because it'd be nice to be able to say, like, one way or another what is going on, but we don't fully know yet.
Yep.
Which is great, just great.
So we're just aware that there is some controversy surrounding this game that is done very well.
Yeah,
That's the thing we know.
Yes, this game was either the most played or second most played launch on Steam. Just like ever. It's ridiculous. It's had millions upon millions of people playing it. Which, yeah, and a lot of that has been because it's Chinese and very much marketed towards the Chinese market. Like, I think there was also, like, the biggest player count drop of all time, because it got to, like, late evening sort of time over in China, and a lot of people went to bed, and suddenly there was, like, 1 million less people playing. Which was a fun thing to just be able to watch and be like, oh, wow, it's just really interesting to be able to tell when people are, like, waking up and going to bed by player count numbers. Yeah. Yes. This game's also sparked once again the topic of, oh, developers need to make single-player games, which is always a fun one.
Yes.
Also,
single-player games good.
Yeah. Make the Soulsborne-like games and people will rush to them.
I did see that there were very little Soulsborne comparisons to Black Myth Wukong, though, too. This is closer to a fun action, very Devil May Cry or Metal Gear Rising Revengeance like.
Yeah, there seems to be quite
in-game
a debate.
feel more so.
Yeah, there seems to be quite a debate going on about whether or not this can be classed as a Souls-like, because you have got these giant monsters that you're fighting in melee, you do dodging, and there's this very jumpy kind of gameplay, but apparently it feels much more like the sort of games you're talking about, where it's a bit more fun and not quite so challenging. And yeah, the internet's, as always, very undecided on what the definitions of words actually are. So that's another thing that's
some determining factors are like, how does checkpointing work? Because Souls games are very specific on how that works. Or like, do you lose a resource when you die? And how much of that resource? All of it? Might be a Souls-like.
But isn't that just a survival game that you listed there, Caedo, with those descriptions?
Well, it could be.
Yeah. This is a problem with, like, any genre tags of any type. There's always crossover and blurring of lines. But I've now run out of things to say.
Okay. Well, something that has a lot of things to say is Space Marine 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This looks
for the Emperor.
Cool. For the Emperor.
You're the Warhammer guy.
I am. Very much so. Caedo's linked the little cinematic-y sort of release trailer, and everything looks on point, which, to be honest, with both Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40k video games, the visuals are almost always great. Like, that's something which across the board is pretty well done. I think it helps having an already very well-established art style to go off. But in terms of gameplay, it looks crunchy. There's real crunchy looking gameplay.
I like crunch.
Everything feels kind of heavy and meaty, and your attacks seem to like properly get jammed in the enemy and stuff. And it looks so good. And I'm just
hope that it is.
Yeah. Like
if when it comes out, Sarge, are you gonna get it? Are you planning on playing it?
It comes out on the 9th of September, Caedo. I do not have the money to get it. Like, if it was a couple of months away and I was able to get a job in that time, sure. But I'm just gonna wait. I'll get to see the reviews and stuff, which will be nice, and hopefully, like a month or two from now, I'll have a part-time job. I'll be making an actual profit, and then I can just wait for the game to be on a bit of a sale, and then give it a try. This is a game that I want to buy eventually. It's in that category for me.
Okay.
It looks good, and I feel kind of sad that it's almost being overshadowed by other stuff as well, because it looks so good. And I know a lot of people are fans of it and looking forward to it, but because everything's been happening in the news this week, there's been some oversight towards it.
Yeah, well, part of it too is just a Warhammer IP. It just has a natural barrier of entry for people, because like I can't there's no way of finding like an easy explainer to probably most of the factions of Warhammer. like a quick and easy.
I mean, I can explain all the factions of Warhammer. It just doesn't make sense. That's the only problem.
Because it'll be replied to with a lot of why kind of thing.
Yeah. People love deep Warhammer lore. And to be fair, Warhammer lore is incredible. You get started on the Primarchs and the Horus Heresy and that whole saga, and it's all amazing stuff. But it is so deep that there's literally hundreds
dense.
of books about
Yeah.
it.
It's like playing a bunch of Pillars of Eternities. Yeah. But I am also interested in Space Marine 2 because it's going to have co-op.
Yeah.
And that's why I was asking if you're getting the game, because I want a co-op with someone.
It's fine. You can do a solo playthrough, and then in a few months we can do a co-op playthrough.
Okay.
And you'll know all the gameplay stuff, and I can point out every single lore tidbit that I remember.
Sweet. Dream Team.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So, listeners, if you have been listening to the news section, is there a Gamescom thing that you want to point out that we didn't talk about? Because we were, again, cherry picking some of the things that we noticed or that we gravitated towards just because of what we do. Yeah, and surprisingly, the Bethesda thing was Elder Scrolls Castles mainly.
Yeah.
That's really funny. But let's move on to the topic, Sarge, which is the main Bethesda thing that did have a little bit of Gamescom coverage too, but we were already kind of complaining about and critiquing and hoping for more. What improvements does Starfield still need? That is our topic.
Oh yes, and there's a lot to say here. And I'm going to shamelessly plug my most recent video as the start of it.
Yeah.
Because it did somewhat kick off this topic, where I made a video, Starfield's Timeline Sucks. What did I actually name it? I named it I Rewrote Starfield's Timeline. It's one of my rewrite videos, and yeah, this has been bugging me kind of since launch and since I started looking at the timeline, but human beings have been in space for hundreds of years in Starfield's world, and there's like 6 cities. And it's like, oh boy, if you look at the timeline, there's so many years where nothing happens, and some of the years are just like, the Freestar Collective is officially established, and then 7 years later something else happens, and it's been bugging me for almost a year at this point. So I decided to rewrite the timeline, squish everything together, make it bigger on scale, because it doesn't make sense that the game is so empty for so many reasons, but the lore also doesn't correlate with how empty and barren the entire game is. And I feel like if they'd done more work on establishing why 99% of planets are basically empty and have nothing covering them other than the odd procedural thing, then it would be more forgivable that there is nothing out there in the world.
Yeah. I will say, you didn't mention it too much, or you mentioned it as a suggestion, was like having more areas suffer terramorph attacks.
Yes.
Because they're definitely a threat.
Yep.
Because like that would have been a good explanation if it was made more clear, like, or made more urgent, I suppose.
That's a big thing with Starfield lore, where there are these big events that happen, but we don't really get that many details, or they seem weirdly small in scale for how big in scale the game is. Like the Terramorph events, we know they're bad, but there's only like a couple of locations we can go to where it's like, oh, Terramorphs have overrun this. And it's like, okay, these are supposed to be a scourge on the entire settled systems. We should be seeing them on tons of planets, making them uninhabitable. But we don't see that. And also the wars. It's like, the wars were bad, and also lasted basically no time at all.
Yep.
So yeah, that's some of the other changes I made. Like, we need more catastrophes. The only big catastrophe that's properly established in lore as being really bad is the destruction of Earth, where billions didn't leave the planet. But we also don't really get anything about that. It's really not focused on, because it happened... How long ago did it happen? It happened 127 years before the game starts, so nobody's talking about it.
Yeah. The old neighborhood. They have a colloquial of it, but like,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah.
Whereas on my timeline, I made it so it was 57 years ago, so that people would actually be alive and be talking about it. And
Yeah, fresher in their minds a little bit.
Yeah, this could actually be a disaster that everyone talks about.
Part of it, I'm sure, is the a trade-off for the want for leaving things discoverable, or the exploration theme that they're going for with Starfield is just leaving some things vague, and sometimes those things that are left vague are unnecessary. Like you feel like it would be information that somebody knows and you wouldn't have to discover it yourself.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the like Earth-based information, like when you go to that research station, it's like is it Nova Galactic or NASA? It's like NASA. You go to NASA in Starfield, but there's only so much you glean up until that point, where like this isn't lost knowledge. This is just not very expanded upon outside of the location itself.
Yeah.
Because again, it's supposed to be left a mystery because something mysterious did happen there.
Yes.
Even though people know what NASA is, there's freaking NASA mugs all over the place. NASA helps Bethesda make this game. Like, there's signage, but some stuff like fell through the cracks, very similarly to the complaint that I've had in the past of the Institute in Fallout 4. Like, there's some things that are just very underexplained, or not given enough time to exist in world.
It feels like the problem is with you talking about like things being left vague. When you leave things vague, you leave them vague for the player or the viewer or the reader. You leave them vague for the audience. You, as the author of that, need to have the details. And it feels like Bethesda does not have the details. Rather than writing all this lore and then being like, we won't tell the player this, they'll have to work it out on their own or imply it or it'll be hidden for later. They've just gone, oh, okay, we don't need to write this stuff because we're not going to tell the player it. Which is not how you make an interesting, vague, unexplained lore.
We can recognize a difference in... And they have different strengths, too. I want to mention that as well. I think we've talked about this maybe even in the last episode, was Bethesda does short stories really well because they're contained, they have all the information that you need. Think of like the beloved Far Harbor, for example, in Fallout 4. Like, it's a contained story, it's a smaller environment. If there's any gaps, like, they're a lot easier to spot, so therefore those gaps were actually filled for information and stuff like that. Whereas you spread it out to the Commonwealth map and the multiple factions and stuff like that, similar to how Starfield operates, then it starts to get messy, especially when the player has so many choices between those factions and learning about them and stuff like that. You know, the fish bowls thing, or the pizza analogy that Camelworks made, where the toppings don't cover the whole pizza. The toppings cover maybe 2% of the pizza. The toppings are great, but the rest of the pizza is kind of bland.
Yeah, I think in addition to toppings of lore, we need toppings of actual stuff to do in Starfield as well.
Yes.
Like, the biggest problem with the game is there's nothing to do. Like, once you've gone through the story stuff once, or maybe twice if you fancy seeing some different endings and alternate paths and choices here and there, there's just nothing to be doing within the world. Like, you can pick up generic Radiant missions, but it doesn't feel all that interesting. I think
you can spend like 10 hours getting all your powers. That's fun, right?
Yeah, super fun. It's crazy that this is the biggest game Bethesda have made, and it feels like it's got the least amount of stuff in it. You know what would have been great? A ton of mini-games. I think you just throw in tons of mini-games, like, at every settlement you can play cards, or, like, some weird sci-fi chess, or other things like that. There's dice games around there. Throw
They
that
had the
sort of
setup
stuff in.
for that too.
Mm.
Like they had the environments for that, but they were turned into dungeons.
Yeah.
They had a specific like 0G casino, but it was taken over by spacers.
It was
It's
so
just like,
disappointing to go through.
I want to just do slots here, man.
Oh.
If this was manned and there were people here, we'd be spending quite a bit of credits and time here. But
Yeah.
instead, it's just a dungeon that you're in for like 20-30 minutes.
Yep. Which really, really sucks. And I'll say as well, I'd have loved to have seen more 0G locations. Because there's multiple skills and weapons which interact with 0G, but there's only like half a dozen locations, I feel like, that you're going to ever visit, potentially, that are in 0G and that you're having to worry about combat. And
Yeah, unless
over 90%
unless
of
you're
the time you're on solid ground.
yeah, unless you're boarding another ship and you take out their grav drive, I believe.
Yes.
There's like a chance of it being 0G when you enter the ship.
But that's such a niche bit of space combat as
It
well.
is,
Because you
yeah.
have to basically almost destroy the enemy ship and then decide you're going to board and do a whole bunch more difficult fighting to get about the same amount of rewards.
This is why I use EM weapons. I just disable their ships all the time.
Yep, that works.
Yeah. Shout out to the Star Eagle that comes with them.
Yeah.
It's still the best ship that you can get.
Yeah. On the subject of ships and stuff, I feel like the one proper time sink for people at the moment is shipbuilding.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's
100%.
That's a well-made part of the game. Like, I've got a lot of complaints about Starfield, but the shipbuilder is great, being able to customize your ships in this way. I'm even fine with space combat. Like, I don't think space exploration is good, but I think space combat is solid. It's not, like, revolutionary and, oh yeah, but I think it does the job well enough. But yeah, if you're not into shipbuilding, you could be into outpost building. I'm sure those people do exist.
Oh my god.
But I had a comment recently from someone that mentioned, like, outpost building, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting into it. Haven't touched it yet, though.
It's so tedious.
Yeah.
It's the most tedious of the like outpost variation builders that we have in Bethesda games now. It is so tedious to do anything. Like, you are better off just putting more cargo things on your ship.
Yeah.
And just doing it
So
that
much
way.
better.
Because now, with the ship builder, on top of that, you have the interior builder now, too. So you can you can put as many containers as you want inside your ship.
It's crazy as well that coming from both Fallout 4 and Fallout 76, which had decent building systems, I'd go so far as to say good, they then made something which is so much worse.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. The one improvement was the Skyview cam.
Yeah.
Like,
Skyview
that was the
cam's good.
one improvement that it did.
And then they made everything else worse
The
as
rest is
compensation.
awful. Like, oh, everything's got to have an airlock now. And I'm just like, what? Does it, though? Does it? I'm in my spacesuit anyway. Like,
Yeah.
at least let me, like, outfit everything and then put the airlocks in. Because, like, it... And that's just one aspect of it, too. The harvesting raw resources, not having a means of recycling, like... storage things being locked behind different skill perks or skill ranks, and the storage system all having a limit. It's insane. Like, the workshop didn't have a storage limit in Fallout 4. You could just put everything in there.
Yeah.
In Starfield, there's no unified storage.
No. I think a problem as well is with the whole resources and stuff. Because, yeah, you can extract resources at outposts, but it's so much quicker and easier to just make some credits and buy the things you need.
Yep.
It's stupid. Especially seeing as 76, we have resource extractors, which are really, really good. Because it's just passive gain, it's super quick and easy to sort out. And that's what Starfield should have done. This should just be passive game that's easy to deal with. But they added in just so much complication and needless garbage to it and made everything stupidly heavy.
And
that it was, like, pointless.
yeah, I don't know if they changed this yet either, but if your ship is parked at your outpost, you still can't access your cargo when you're trying to build your outpost. Like, you have to pull it from your ship. And that in itself is just an extra step that I don't care to make most times. I'm just like, well, I don't have the resources at my outpost. Time to go. And then I just build workbenches in my ship because I have the I have the ability to do that now.
Yeah, it's a much better way to do it. You know what? I think with the interior interior shipbuilding, we get a bit of this, but before Starfield came out, what I really wanted was to be able to just kind of live on my ship and have it feel interesting. And I think interior decoration and being able to build the workbenches on your ship and stuff now has helped with that a lot. But I still feel like you have to go to settlements and stuff. Just being passively on your ship, nothing is going to happen.
True. Yeah.
And I really wish that there were random encounters in space other than just when you fast travel somewhere.
Yeah. Like, if your ship is just... Because, like, when you get out of your pilot seat, though, too, like, everything outside freezes.
Yeah.
Basically. Like, I saw some funny clips of someone, like, mid-combat getting out of their pilot seat and everybody just patiently waiting outside.
This is the thing, you're missing a brilliant opportunity where if there was more incentive to be wandering around your ship and doing stuff, maybe like talking to companions or dealing with your engine, I don't know, doing fun little upgrades and stuff maybe within the ship itself. And as that's happening, suddenly the like sirens come on and the ship's getting blasted and you have to sprint back to the cockpit to take control. That would have been an amazing moment. Yeah. Which we don't get. Because when you're just on your ship, you just deal with your inventory or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. That actually would have been cool. Like, similar, like, almost like a rested bonus or something like that. Like, you could, like, go to different parts of your ship and do a little mini game or something like that to improve the power output for a short time, or, like, improve the engine speed or something.
Maybe like repairs as well, so after you've been in a fight you can like repair up to 50% or something while on board a ship, so that you don't have to like go back and fix things, or you can be better set up for the next combat,
or you don't have to sit there and wait for your systems to regenerate. Like, that's annoying. That's really annoying. That's it. Actually,
yeah, just have it so you can go and fix the systems yourself.
Yeah,
it'd be lovely. And my brain's also jumped onto the follower perks. Make them make sense and do stuff properly, please.
Yeah, dude, the lack of information spreads to skills and companion skills too. Yeah. Like, it's rough.
I still don't understand how any of them actually work.
Yeah. I think I did have like a Reddit post saved of someone who actually tested a lot of them, if not all of them. Armor sets, unique ship parts, outpost fabrication flowchart, went through all the basic habs and made an Excel sheet of them. The truth about ranking powers. Is that it? Oh, that's Starborn powers. Never mind. Oh well, that's useful too. But yeah, the companion / follower / crew skills they're not the same as player skills, even though they use the same names.
Which is
it's dumb.
Annoying. It's so confusing and needlessly so, especially seeing as so many of the skills would just make sense to be the same. Like, oh yeah, this person has better carry capacity. That makes sense. Oh, this person is better with this weapon type. Cool, I know what weapon to give them. Oh, this person's good at this part of ship thing. Oh my god, if you could assign people to different parts of your ship. Oh, that'd be nice as well, rather than just having them on the ship in general. Which is also another thing where the skills come into play, but I don't know if they actually work or not, because it's so difficult to tell.
Yeah. Oh, I did want to gush about the Rev-8 a little bit.
Oh.
And how much they considered which companions are with you. Because the companions all have something to say, when
good.
you have them in the passenger seat, or Vasco's case, him in the back.
Nice.
They all say something like when I had Barrett, the rubber meet road, or just silly like one-liner stuff but he would have had to record that, and like all the other voice actors, like there's some very closely working like voice work, which makes me feel like either this was all done prior or it's treated as though it's an active development still. I don't know which one's better.
I mean, I imagine because we've got stuff like Shattered Space coming in like a month, they've still kept hold of a lot of the important voice actors.
I guess so. Yeah, that does make sense, because they would probably definitely have things to say if you can bring your companions along.
I mean, it would be crazy if they were like, yeah, your companions just don't say anything in any of the new DLCs we make.
I was thinking, like, since it's a House of Varun thing, like, most of them just wouldn't be available or something.
I mean, we don't know how it's going to start and stuff.
I don't know how it's going to start.
Given it's a Bethesda game, they'll just make it happen. You just show up, and even if it shouldn't work, it still will.
Yeah.
Right. I had the thing on my stream last night where I sent the Ghoul Vault-Tec rep to the Brotherhood base, and all the Brotherhood are just like, not even phased. You sent a Ghoul here? No problem.
Yeah. I want to do a little bit of a preemptive critique, going back to the Rev-8 really quick.
Yep.
My headcanon, my theory, is the reason why they made the Rev-8 a free update is because all of the modifications, I believe, are going to be paid creations.
Oh no. I hope you're wrong.
That's the hook. I hope I'm wrong too, Sarge. I do hope I'm wrong. However, all we can do with the Rev-8 right now is paint it.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
The canon is usable, but what if we could pay money for a better canon?
Yeah, I mean, there's already people who have made different followers, so I'm sure people are working on creations that are based around the Rev-8. In fact, I'm going to double check I recorded footage of some of the creations and stuff. I'm just going to have a quick look through in case I instantly see one. Because I wouldn't be surprised if people have already sorted it out and been like, yep, we're already changing things and doing all of that. I don't instantly see one. Oh. Okay, there is one. There's Shade's Vehicle Tuner, I see, is already a thing. So people are already modifying the vehicle.
Yeah. But I'm mainly talking about, like, the Bethesda approved.
Yeah. No, I imagine there will be that stuff coming. Because even if it's not, like, directly planned, I don't know the exact relation that paid creators get for their creations, but I imagine they just kind of go like, hey, I'd like to make this thing, and Bethesda's like, yep, or nope. And then it happens.
Yep. Yeah. But I do want to say, too, like, what we get with the Rev-8 is pretty much what I wanted. Like, as is, it's still nice to be able to get around a lot quicker.
Yeah. It's definitely a positive for the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And should have been there from the beginning.
Yeah. I still think Starfield does have a serious empty space problem, even with the vehicle.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, it does.
Especially because I was driving for ages and ran across, like, one location.
Okay, so the main thing about that too, that I'm glad you brought it back to that, because Starfield has the problem of encounters just not being as diverse or plentiful as other Bethesda games, like random encounters, I mean.
Yeah.
Because they can be just sitting outside of, like, dungeons and stuff like that, or some of the points of interest. But, like, if you're just out in the wild, like, it's just alien life if there is life on that planet.
Yeah. Maybe
but if
a
there's
ship
not,
will fly down.
Maybe a ship will fly down, like, if it's barren or whatever, too. But, like, I during the B-roll even, like, I drove to a ship that landed and it flew off immediately when I stopped. So, like, there's still a problem with that, too, I think.
Oh, big time. And it's so sad, because I think Bethesda, made the best random encounter game of all time with Fallout 3. Fallout 3's random encounter system is as close to perfect as I think you're ever going to get.
Yeah, but it was also, handcrafted in a way to allow, like this encounter can happen at this location, this location, this location, where it's not all procedurally generated, which probably is part of why all of it is so kind of bland after a bit.
Yeah. They made the sensible thing of still giving hundreds or maybe even thousands of options, but without just making it as anything could happen. Because anything is not interesting. Things are interesting. And a lot of things are interesting. Anything and everything is not interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Even a game like... I won't bring up Kenshi. Never mind. I said it out loud. I've met my quota.
Okay, no, stop.
I'm stopping.
We can't have Kenshi talk, so I'm going to ask you... You say Astra is obtainable from end-of-dungeon containers and captain stashes.
Yes. I made a... I didn't spend enough time with the Trackers Alliance, intro quest and... bounty terminal as I wanted to, because I was already frustrated with the whole plan that Bethesda has had with the Trackers Alliance.
Yeah.
It's the, first one's free, and then you gotta pay $7 equivalent in credits to get the next main target in the quest.
Yep.
The chain of quests is a sequence of microtransactions or transactions, which sucks. But
isn't it wild how microtransactions are no longer being micro?
They're not micro. Because by the time you get all the targets, it's going to be, at least $14, if not more. Because the screen has enough room in the Trackers Alliance building for 2 more targets. But if it scrolls over, I don't know. We haven't determined that yet. So, anyway, Astra is the one super credits that they added to the game. You only get them in game. I don't want to make it sound like it's a creations thing. The Astra is something you get in game to exchange over at the Trackers Alliance in Aquila City. I thought that it was very limited on how many you would get, but I started noticing them inside of ships when I would board pretty much any ship. Sometimes you would find them in the captain's stash, as well as the end of dungeon chests in any point of interest that has enemies at it, basically.
Yeah.
So I wanted to correct that complaint that I had, because I couldn't find any when I was playing, but maybe they updated it, or maybe I was just oblivious or unlucky.
Yeah.
But I ended up with enough.
If it's a luck thing.
But you still only exchange them for frickin' rarity items or rarity weapons. So, and of course, 3 Astra is needed to get a legendary weapon, which would be the only logical choice anyway.
No, I think I can speak for both of us when I say that if Starfield got rid of a legendary system and replaced it with uniques, we'd both be incredibly happy. Not only would we be incredibly happy, we'd go, it's time to start covering Starfield. Because you'd be making guides on where to get all the uniques. I'd be making character builds being like, hey, here's a weapon you can actually use for this build. It would be amazing. God, I was so close to swearing.
As of right now, Starfield's got about 6 or 7 unique weapons. I don't want to look at my spreadsheet and make myself sad, but I think that's the amount. The rest are pre-placed named legendaries. Or named rares too, not even 3-star.
Yeah, most of them are worthless.
Yeah.
You're better off just going to a generic location, looking in containers, and there's a good chance you'll just get a legendary weapon.
And there's also no consistency in them either.
Nope.
Some of them are just heavily modded with a name.
It's like a looter shooter, but without any of the smart development that goes into those games. It's weird. It's weird how stuff like, you know what, Diablo actually does the loot system better than Starfield.
Yeah.
Is not something I thought would ever need to say. But
because that wouldn't have been a comparison years ago. We wouldn't make that comparison years ago, but now we do.
Insane.
Because now they were like, oh, looter shooters are cool, I guess. Let's kind of put that in here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Fallout 4. You started this.
I mean, technically we had it in the Elder Scrolls with enchanted items and enchantment making.
Yeah,
but they still had...
though. That was the RPG version of that, though.
Yeah, the thing is, with the Elder Scrolls, you had it where you still had your actual uniques, and you could make your legendary system style items with just, like, the standard 1 or 2 effects at most if you got pretty good at crafting. And, yeah, that is, like, as far as you can push it while still being on the good side of things. And I will die on this hill.
Yeah. I mean, I also agree with you.
Yeah. Someone will come up to this hill and fight us, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Let's just stay up here.
But they I don't know, they didn't want crafting to be OP, I guess? I don't know.
I'd much rather have a game where it's like, yeah, the crafting system's kind of overpowered and you should go for it, than a game that's like, oh no, you just have to randomly hope you get the best weapon.
Yeah. Yeah, and even 76 is going back and reverting to, like, oh, you can just pull legendary effects off things now. Like, that's exactly how Skyrim did it.
Yeah, it turns out.
And yet Starfield's over here like, nope, just throw a bunch of, quote, unique things at the player and maybe they'll get something they want.
I'm still very pissed off that they incorrectly define unique within the game's help menus.
Sarge, I'm so glad that you are sharing in my rage.
I thought about it the other day. Just randomly, it's a thought that will pop into my mind and make me angry.
Did Bethesda really do this? God dang it.
I mean, I am one of those people that's very much like, no, you should use the right word and the right term, and, like, I care about the definitions of words. I'm one of those losers.
Yeah. If anybody wants context... really quick, in Starfield, go to the help menu and look at the unique items section. I'll have it on screen too, just because we're talking about it. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. No, that was pretty much it. Just I care about using the words correctly. I'm not gonna pick up a fork and say, look at this spoon. This is a spoon, everyone. We're gonna pretend I'm using a spoon. I'm like, no, I'm gonna use the word fork when dealing with a fork, and if I'm dealing with uniques, I'll actually say uniques, and if I'm dealing with random legendaries, I'll say random legendaries. It's very simple.
Yeah. Yep. So, out of the things so far that we think improvements-wise Starfield needs, just to do a short, like, midway recap, because I have a feeling we got a lot more gas in the tank. The loot system needs a change of some kind. It's just too random. It's too looter shootery with no direction, really. Also, outposts, they need just a full rework. Unified storage, please. That's all I want. Adjusting ship capacity or personal capacity is not a fix, by the way. With the new difficulty settings, that's great, but that should not be the solution. The be-all end-all solution is just setting your inventory space to infinite. What else did we talk about?
I mean, we talked about Creation Club stuff. Please don't scam us with Creation Club, I suppose.
Yeah, the Trackers Alliance has not been addressed, has not been changed, even though it was addressed by Todd Howard months ago now. Yep. And I have a feeling it was just, oh, look at these all other shiny free things that we're giving you. Don't look at the Trackers Alliance. Check out this rover and this Doom crossover thing that's going to be free as well.
On the other things we've covered, diversity of locations and encounters needs to be upped a lot.
Yes, better random encounters.
Exploration a bit better.
I don't know how to fix this part though either. Is the encounters in space don't feel like encounters.
No, they are you fast travel to a place and a thing is happening.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Which I don't know how to make that better, except for the way that you kind of explained it. Also, I want enemies to board my ship. I don't want my ship blown up all the time.
Yeah.
Board my ship. Fight
That'd
me.
be great.
Then your ship design could change dramatically based on just that gameplay thing alone. Like, I could booby trap the hell out of my airlock now and like set like 15 turrets up. I don't know if you can even put turrets inside your ship because it wasn't something that was considered or added.
Whenever I'm watching like a space-based sci-fi thing where you got starships and stuff, almost always the most exciting scene for me is everyone's just kind of casually hanging around at like the relaxation cube or whatever you're calling it, and then suddenly they're getting attacked, everyone's to battle stations, they fight them off, but oh no, we've got boarders, we've got to fight within the ship. Almost always my favourite scene when it's included in like a sci-fi movie, because it's such a fun little thing to do. It engages with the whole concept of science fiction and what goes on here. It's got like naval roots in the whole combat and how that works, and something that is really interesting. It opens up tons of good narrative moments, and we don't get it in Starfield. Grrr.
Yeah. A distinction for unique encounters versus generated encounters.
Yeah.
So unique encounters that are spawned versus generated encounters. Like, turn them orange or something. Like, make the marker a different color, because there are so many ship encounters that are cool, but you don't realize that. At least in your first playthrough or something like that, it just seems like it's another encounter that's generated outside of a planet instead of on one.
You also get tired real quickly of going to investigate this thing, which is happening like a couple of minutes away from you.
Yeah.
When half the time, well, more than half the time, it's just a random generic thing which you've already seen.
Yeah. But like the unique ship encounters, they are like once per playthrough per se. So like there's a haunted ship, there's several ships that are just kind of derelict, and you get to find out with a small amount of environmental storytelling what happened. There's like the AI one. There's some cool stuff that's just there orbiting some planet that you discovered, but the game doesn't identify them. They don't identify them differently enough to where you know that. I think that would generally be a cooler thing. Like, put a question mark on it. Like, there's so many ways you can tell the player, hey, this is something you haven't seen.
Yeah, I think the easiest way is just have it be a quest and have it pop up when you like encounter it, just like investigate the spaceship or whatever.
Yeah.
And then
when you hit that solar system too. Like, like
better yet as well,
yeah.
investigate the spaceship and then in that say where it is. Because there's plenty of times in the game where I'm like, I have no idea where this quest leads me.
Yep. Yeah. So something like that, something to make the galaxy that we're in feel a bit smaller and easier to understand, maybe. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, because it's so vast, and you have once you've explored so much, so you have the preconceived notion, and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna go to this place and see the same things I've seen before.
Yeah. I'd like a overall mentality change on vastness is not a good thing.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
Oh no, it's realistic for space to be empty and barren and boring is not game design.
It'd be really crazy. Design. It'd be so cool and kind of a Chad move if they were just like, we removed about 400 systems. And I'll be like, hell yeah.
Yeah. Hey everyone, we decided that 20 planets is enough. They're now actually fully populated and have interesting stuff in them. Have fun.
Yeah. And in the removal of those systems, we also moved some of the alien life from those to other planets, so they are all more interesting.
Yeah. God, I think overall Starfield's biggest downfall is it's marketed as for explorers, and yeah, you should go exploring. But exploring, the in-game rewards are meh, bit of experience, bit of generic loot. And the actual player enjoyment rewards are, oh, it's an alien.
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen that alien before. That's it.
Maybe some more interactions with alien life besides scanning or shooting them.
Yep.
That would be cool.
I think the outpost system has a way to turn them into a farm, but
yes, it's tedious,
confusing, and
just like everything else in outpost building.
Yeah.
Something besides that. I avoided saying that because, like, we already talked about outposts and how tedious they are to do.
I just wanted it in there so we can't have someone in the comments say, like, actually, there's a third way to interact with the
well, yeah, obviously, but, like, nobody wants to do it.
Yeah.
And also they do the Brahmin thing, but, like, 15 times worse.
Mm.
And there's standing on top of the thing instead of being inside. Because, it doesn't account for size for all the alien life. So, like, if it's, like, one of the big neck things, like, they're just, like, on stuff.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even look like they're tame besides not moving around much. Even making a greenhouse is tedious, man. Like, you have to scan it on that planet, and then, like, you have to make the greenhouse, then you have to feed a water pump to a storage of water, and then have that water go to the greenhouse, make sure the input is as frequent as the output just for the water. Like, it's nuts. It's too much.
I think I should clarify as well, both Caedo and I have enjoyed survival games where the whole thing is slightly tediously building up your outpost.
Oh my god, yes, I have.
I feel like this needs to be acknowledged, because I don't want people, especially people who haven't heard us talk about this sort of stuff before, be like, oh, it's just, YouTube want everything to be quick and easy. No, Caedo loves Valheim. And I know that it's not a game where you're just building up super quickly. It's a slow grind to get your resources, to make everything work. But
Valheim has
fun.
No automation systems, by the way. Except for, no, it doesn't. Because you put stuff in the smelter and you still have to wait, but you put it in there manually. But like even compared to like Minecraft and stuff like that, like people love the tedium of that. And also, you don't have the pressure of the main story destroying your entire world.
Yeah.
That works against the whole survival aspects.
Yeah.
I think.
You know what? It might be controversial, but I'd say maybe get rid of New Game Plus. Like, this is going to be my controversial one for the day, but I think New Game Plus does more harm than good. I think it was an interesting concept. I think the way it ties into, like, the lore and the story is kind of fun, but overall, I think it just, the way it strips on your outposts, it kind of gets rid of your progression besides, like, your experience and equipment you've got on you sort of thing. It's, oh no, do you even keep the equipment you've got on you?
No.
Can't remember. No, it's literally just your levels. You keep your levels. They do some fun story stuff, but it's so vague that it doesn't help. Or maybe, you know what, a slightly less controversial one, maybe you have a choice to hop between universes, rather than it just be New Game Plus. That way, it's more complicated, but...
Yeah, how the engine wipes things to make sure the game still functions, I don't know how feasible that would be. Because that's also a creation engine trick. They're just like, oh, I don't want your save to get corrupted, so I'm just going to wipe the whole universe, but you keep your character. Like, that's definitely what they were considering when they came up with New Game Plus. For sure. I have no doubt.
Like, if there's someone who's able to make that work, though, where you could have multiple universes running, because I suppose it'd be like having multiple characters running. I don't know enough about it to figure out if it's possible in some way, but I feel like there should be a workaround that could happen.
I think there's a couple of workarounds that could be utilized, similar to research, because you can keep research that you do. First of all, blueprints for ships. Just blueprint your ship.
Man,
and be able
I love the blueprint system in 76.
Right?
Being able to pick up plans and recipes, that was such a good innovation from the launch of 76. It's one of the things from the start of the game where I'm like, brilliant, excellent. Start including that in all your games, Bethesda. I love it. And they were like, no, you know what people like? Random loot. That's what we'll go with.
Yeah. So one of the things that I would say is passable, because I do want them, just like they went hard on the settlements in Fallout 4, I want them to go hard on New Game Plus and different like universe variations, because that is interesting to me. Like,
yeah, if you actually make it so that when you travel into New Game Plus, it is a variant universe,
yeah,
that'd be great.
That it's not the same, that it's not the exact same. Something has changed.
Yep, I made a whole video on New Game Plus, and I went through New Game Plus several times to try and get a different reality, and I could not get one.
Yeah. I don't want it to be a chance. I want it to be guaranteed that there's something different.
Mm-hmm.
And then that will help you determine, too, if you're slamming through this universe or you're going to stick around for a while. Like, that is a fun player thing to do, too. But I wanted to suggest, like, maybe even the Shattered Space DLC will do this, because it's called Shattered Space. There's going to be something related to, like, the different universes and stuff like that, too. But being able to design something like on your ship, or use like grav drive tech or something like that to or use the temples to store something. Like I want to keep all of my stuff, so yeah. I'm gonna build this thing to keep all of my stuff that's on my person right now, so I can take it with me through the Unity. Or this settlement right here, I'm gonna dome it with ancient technology, and then it's just gonna be there next time I go through the Unity. Like, it's going to travel. Yeah. It's gonna travel through the Unity with me, technically.
That'd be fun.
Something like that. Like, and you only get to choose one. Like, that would be the cool, like, trade-off kind of thing. Like, oh, do you want to have all your stuff, or do you want to have your outpost that you're really proud of that barely functions? I think that would be... It's definitely something that Starfield needs, staying on the topic, but I would want it to be some kind of choice, too. Because they did already allow us to, in a recent update even, they did allow us to change our traits, too.
Yeah.
Which is a nice change. I will say that. I don't want to be all doom and gloom about our topic, because we are being very critical of Starfield. There are some things that are good in the game.
I like that they're going with the trend of keeping photo modes in their future games. I hope they stick with that.
Absolutely.
I love the photo mode.
Some of the prettiest screenshots I've taken were in Starfield. Because still images, like, if you're just appreciating the appearance of something, yeah, some of the planets look freaking gorgeous.
Yeah, one of my phone wallpapers that I'm using currently is just like a sunset on a planet.
Yeah.
From Starfield, because it looks good.
Yep. Yeah. Crap, there was another thing that... no, I lost it.
Oh dear. Well, that's a shame, because I think I've covered everything I'm going to on this topic.
Oh, crap. Let me think with my brain really quick.
Oh, no.
The things that sprung to mind were, like, the minimal things that players just kind of deal with, but I'm still loud and angry about.
Okay.
Like, why don't we know how much oxygen we have? Like, why is there no numeric value?
Oh, okay.
I would love that. I would love that, Bethesda, especially when things tell us it increases O2 levels. And
by like
how
10%,
would we? Yeah,
but then it doesn't give you a number.
How would we report it to Bethesda if it's not filling properly? If we don't know the numbers? There's a benefit to this, Bethesda. You have bug report sections. What if we had more information? That would be great for you, wouldn't it? Anyway, that's just me still thinking about a Bethesda Y series, because that could be a whole that could be a short series, to be honest. Oh man, I hate that I'm thinking about them now.
Yeah.
Shorts, that is.
Caedo and I hate shorts.
Yeah. Do you know William Strife has been doing shorts?
I'm not surprised. It's a sensible thing to do.
I talked to him the other day. He was like, it took you long enough to notice that he was doing shorts on the Astoundingly Awesome magazines in Fallout 4. That's what he started with. And I'm like, good luck. Have fun with the mind-numbingly painful magazine quest. I did my time. And yet I did it in Starfield again, and I'm still not done with them. Because I needed a break from Starfield. Understandably so. We have a lot to say about Starfield. Starfield, I maybe we'll end on this. Like, Starfield does have the potential to still be awesome. I want to put that out there. Like, it still has the potential to be awesome. Right now, it's kind of just there. It's kind of okay. It's a Bethesda experience. If you really want to scratch that itch, you get that with Starfield. But
I would say it is good for a playthrough.
It's good for a playthrough. Similar to the Outer Worlds. But the difference between the Outer Worlds and Starfield is the Outer Worlds was in one system.
Yeah. It feels like they're both games that are the you just want to play this through once sort of thing, but for completely opposite reasons.
Yeah. Like what I was talking about, like a good fun thing to think about, especially in the discovery sense, is the different universes you can end up in when you complete the game and go to New Game Plus. That is a good hook. Please pursue that. Because I want more variation. When we made our examples of, like, what if everyone's just a glob of goo in the next universe and you're the only person? Everybody's technology is based around being in a goo form. like you go to New Atlantis and it's just a big pile of goo with elevators. I don't know. It'd be silly and great and probably a very short universe to be in, but it would still be something else that would catch you by surprise and be fun for the moment.
Yeah. It's crazy how the concept of a multiverse was just like, oh yeah, one thing will be different. And they just went with that.
Yeah.
Like, you have infinite possibilities. We have chosen none of them.
The ones that exist, I don't want to spoil. I also didn't spoil them for myself because I do want to discover them on my own. I'm kind of holding myself back in that sense, but like that's like one of the surprises the game still has for me, so I'm holding on to that. Also, surface maps were totally doable, and it took such a long time for those to happen. And that also makes my guides much more easy to do, because when I describe a location in the magazine's guides, now you can see what I'm describing on the surface map. Like, this still holds up, and I'm so happy. So I'm just like, look for the thing that has 2 weird silo structures, and you can see those on the surface map now. And I was like, hell yeah, this is perfect. Also, all the like store markers that you can fast travel to, I like that too. I want to know from the listeners, if they haven't bounced off already because of our complaining about Starfield, what are your complaints about Starfield? Do you like outposts? Make your argument.
Yeah. I know there will be people out there who like outposts, and I would like to know why.
Yeah. And do you also wish that it's not a logistical nightmare? Because that's what it is to me, especially if you need resources from multiple locations, multiple planets. That's pretty much the topic, I think. Besides Starfield, besides jumping into Starfield, trying out the Rev-8, which is still fun to drive, by the way, what have you been playing and or making and or doing, Sarge?
It's a fairly short list for me this time around.
Oh.
I'll say first, I've been playing some Total War Warhammer 3. We just had patch 5.2 show up, which surprisingly has some really fun stuff in it. There's now unusual locations, which means just like interesting random events can happen in your settlements, and I love it. It's a great little update that affects every faction. They've done a bunch of tweaks to specific factions and stuff within the game, and I've been playing a dwarf campaign because they changed dwarves a few times, and in the update before this, it made it so dwarves had to be like really aggressive and just go on mass war campaigns, and it didn't feel very dwarfy. The dwarves in the Warhammer universe are supposed to be sticking to their holds and defending their own lands and sort of things. And this time they made a change with something called the Deeps, where you basically get a bunch of extra building slots on your settlements, but there's a very limited number of times you can do this. So it means that you can build like 4 or 5 provinces and make them really tough, rather than the normal Total War experience of getting 100 provinces, all of which are just kind of the same. And it's a brilliant update, and makes dwarves play the way they should, and I've been having great fun with it.
A little bit of rock and stone?
A little bit of rock and stone.
Nice.
And you mine through the rock and stone to get to the deeps, and they've got fun little interactions. It's just a really good improvement, like, as a free update, and yeah, I'm very impressed by it, and it's got me back into playing Total War Warhammer 3.
And that's all we could ever want, is Sarge playing more Total War Warhammer 3.
I only have 537 hours so far.
It's like me in that one game that I mentioned already.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not going to look at my playtime for Total War Warhammer 2, because I know that's going to be much, much higher. Now I've got to look at it, though. I've got to look at it now. Let's check. Well, Total War Warhammer is just under 100 hours I played. So, you know, that's something.
Mm-hmm.
Total War Warhammer 2... Oh, it's only 893 hours. I'm surprised it's under 1,000. That's something, I suppose.
Wow.
Yeah, combining the franchise, I've only got like 1,500 or so hours. That's not too terrible.
It's a good amount still, I think.
Yeah, the other game I've been playing, which I'm about to hit 100 hours on, is Dark Souls 3.
Whoa, you've moved on to 3?
Yes. And I've played more of it now than I've played of 1. Dark Souls 1 is the better game.
Yeah.
In my opinion, Dark Souls 1 any day of the week. I'm not having a lot of fun with Dark Souls 3. I've enjoyed some parts of the game, but for the most part, I've just kind of been pushing through and being like, well, I've made it this far, I may as well get this next bit done. And I've defeated every boss except for the final boss, and it's just not fun. I'm at the annoying point where I'm like, I'm so close to finishing this game, but I kind of don't want to, because I'm not enjoying any of it. And it's annoying. The thing is, Dark Souls 1 was a bit tricky to learn, but I felt like being smart and being patient and learning the enemies and just figuring out combos and stuff, I felt like I was being rewarded for that for the most part. It had a nice tempo to it, you could figure things out, it felt good. Dark Souls 3 is a lot faster, and they've made the game a lot more difficult. They've clearly gone, we need to up the challenge. But it doesn't feel like a rewarding challenge. It feels like, oh, you're just going to die a bunch of times and then get lucky, and the time you get lucky is the time you'll win, because you need to time everything perfectly in a near-inhuman sort of way. So rather than just being smart and figuring out, okay, I roll at this time, it'll be like, oh no, you rolled 0.2 seconds slower than you needed to, so now you get hit by one attack, and because the combo attacks are so fast, the next 3 attacks will hit you and you're dead. And it's like, okay, yes, punish me for my mistakes, but let me recover from my mistakes. And Dark Souls 3 does not like to let you recover from mistakes. Which sucks, especially because the past 3 bosses I fought have more than 1 health bar, which I hate. I hate it as a mechanic that when you deplete the enemy health bar, they come back with a full one. Especially because...
Does it show them on the HUD, or does it...
It shows it on the HUD.
And then...
It depletes fully.
And then fill up again.
It fills up again, yeah. So, I'll quickly go over
So it's not like how Kingdom Hearts does it. Because Kingdom Hearts, when it shows an enemy health bar and it has more health bars after that, it has little pips.
No, it's not like that.
After the main health bar. Okay.
I'll go through all of them.
So it's a bullcrap. It's a bullcrap. All of them
are slightly different. Yeah, though... Twin Princes, who's the first of this trio I kind of fought, you fight the first prince, they die, then the second half of the phase is the other prince shows up and revives them at half health, and you have to kill the other prince who's on their back. Very Twisted Twin, I kind of digged it. But they'll just keep bringing back their brother over and over again, so you're potentially whittling down several health bars in this fight. The Nameless King is, first of all, the King of Storms, which is a dragon that you're fighting, and its rider. You defeat the King of Storms, and then the Nameless King hops off, and then you fight them. So that's basically 2 bosses in one arena. And then the final one is the endgame boss, who's... I'm not going to say their name just in case, but you basically defeat them once, and then they drop down to the ground, and their entire health bar just regenerates, and then they get a different moveset. And it just gets progressively worse. Because the other thing as well is, once you've defeated the first stage in the first health bar, and then you die in the second stage, you have to do the first stage all over again.
Yeah, yep, of course.
And it's the lack of progress which I hate. Because you know what? I actually enjoy the second half of the final boss fight. Once I've got onto that second phase, it's very akin to the final boss of Dark Souls 1, and that was a boss fight where I was like, oh, I'd kind of like to do that again properly. That part of it is kind of fun. The first half is not. The first half is very annoying, and I basically have to get through the first half with a decent number of healing items still left behind in order to have any chance of winning at the second half. And it's so frustrating, and it's annoying because I have to defeat one enemy and then I've beat the game. But I don't want to. It's such a weird feeling to be so close to finishing the game, having done everything. I've got like over 3/4 of the achievements unlocked. Like, I've done so much in this game, and now I'm like, I just don't want to play it. I'm having a terrible time with it. I don't particularly like Dark Souls 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, did you finish Lies of P? Because you were playing Lies of P last.
I have not finished
episode.
Lies of P. I have a weird thing where my Xbox controller, the right bumper, sometimes just stops working.
Oh, no.
And it's very unhelpful, because I think that's light attack in the game. Just like the most useful button.
Ah, crap.
So yeah, I've stopped playing that temporarily until my controller sorts itself out again. But I'm looking forward to playing Lies of P. That's a fun Souls-like.
Nice.
I enjoy that game. That's well made. The bosses have attack patterns, and you learn them, and you do lots of dodging, and you get hit, and then you're like, oh, okay, I'll back up and heal. And the game doesn't go, no, we're going to hit you 4 more times and decimate. My health bar's like pretty much maxed out, and I still can get like one shot by things. And it's like, well, that's not fun.
Yeah.
I don't like Dark Souls 3, and it's annoying, because I've spent so much time on it, and I know it so well. And there's some things it does well, but there's so much it just doesn't do well.
Do you think you're gonna finish Dark Souls 3?
I don't know.
Okay.
Check in next time. And
all right, we'll do.
But,
and also, follow-up question.
Mm-hmm.
Are you gonna move on to Elden Ring?
I don't have Elden Ring.
But if you did,
well, here's the weird thing. After beating Dark Souls 1, I was like, I should buy Elden Ring at some point. After playing Dark Souls 3, I'm like, I don't know if I want to play Elden Ring. Because if it goes even further in this direction of just stupid move combos and incredibly fast pace and stuff, I'm like, I'm not going to enjoy that. The boss fight I had the most fun with in Dark Souls 3 is the Abyss Watchers, which is based on Knight Artorias from Dark Souls 1. And like, yeah, I enjoyed Dark Souls 1, it had a great tempo, it felt like I was dancing with the bosses a lot of the time. Dark Souls 3, it makes you be aggressive or panicky and just... I have to spam buttons as well, which does not feel good. It's like you can either time things perfectly or just spam a button. And I do not have the supernatural reflexes to time things perfectly. I'm sure there are people who manage it, but...
I don't know. From what I've seen, like, I'm not an authority in Elden Ring at all, by the way. But from what I've seen, the build variety, also just being able to, like, back off from something you think might be too difficult and going a different direction.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like it's got a lot of flexibility where it doesn't seem like Dark Souls 3, in your case, has. So,
it's
I don't
quite
know.
a linear game.
Yeah. But, again, I'm not an authority.
Yeah.
I just hear a lot of good things about Elden Ring.
I might try Elden Ring.
So.
But at this point, I'm very much waiting for it to be on a ridiculously cheap sale if I do pick it up. Because it's way too late for me to bother buying it at, like, full price or even just mildly discounted.
Gotcha.
But, what have you been playing, Caedo?
Well, I already talked about it when we were speaking on Avowed, the Avowed gameplay from Gamescom that we took like most of the news section to talk about. Yeah, Pillars of Eternity. I started it up, made an Amawa monk, because monks are a class in the game. I hope that's in Avowed as well. I'm not sure though. But if they are, ooh, you bet Caedo's gonna be a monk. Because
something
I appreciate about Obsidian also is that they appreciate martial arts characters.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if the monk wasn't really a thing in the Outer Worlds, but being a space monk would be kind of, I don't know. It would take a lot of extra work, I think, with their framework. Anyway, regardless of that, they appreciate the monk class. So I made a monk. Monks operate a little bit differently than you expect in like Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing and stuff like that. They are empowered by statuses, different negative statuses that are applied to themselves. So if you're given like a bleed status or a poison status or stuff like that, that actually empowers you to use your monk abilities instead of like the key points you would have in like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. So, and some of the monk subclasses that are introduced later can like just start you with an injury. And then you can like go directly into like a flurry of blows equivalent or stunning strike or whatever, because Pillars of Eternity is very D&D adjacent. Like it has just D&D versions renamed. Which also makes Pillars of Eternity at the time that it came out feel like a Baldur's Gate successor before Baldur's Gate 3 came out. But the world of Eora is very dark fantasy. Nice. Even though Avowed made it look very colorful, there's going to be a juxtaposition when you play Avowed, I feel, that is going to have that, ooh, this is not a good thing. Oh, this is genocide and or mass murder and or slavery and or some other things that I probably shouldn't talk about on the podcast. Like, there's always something going on in the background or some very Witcher-like, I suppose, and like something else going on in the background that you're not quite, I don't know, go back to my very smart statement of like Obsidian does trolley problems very well, or they're experts at trolley problem, because that's what Pillars feels like. You get a keep that you get to like refurbish in Pillars of Eternity. So you start with like this decrepit keep with an actual like full-on dungeon underneath it too, that you get to explore and kill the enemies in and stuff like that. And then you staff your keep. You decide on guards, like some of the quests you complete. You can actually have, like, for example, you make friends with an ogre. You'd be like, hey, you want to guard my keep? It's probably much safer than being out here being hunted down by humans that just don't like you. And he's like, all right, sure. so then you could just have an ogre guarding your gate, which ups your defense value but lowers your prestige because it's a freaking ogre. So there's a lot of like cool little management stuff in there too, as well as working on a very macro level when it comes to funding and keeping everybody equipped and stuff like that. So that is part of the system stuff, I guess. Whereas the world itself is very much, the theme is around the cycle of souls, or the wheel as it's like commonly referred to as. It's very similar to the live stream in Final Fantasy VII, where it's a reincarnation system where like once somebody dies, their soul goes back into the pillars of Audra, which go into the core of the world and then get recycled into another life, basically. But the plot of Pillars of Eternity is finding out why that cycle has suddenly stopped and babies are being born hollow, as in without a soul, so they like die shortly after birth, and that's your hook to start the game. So you can imagine in different, villages and stuff like that you run into, you find leadership that is blaming all kinds of things from like the results of their babies being born without souls. And various like horrific things being done to like figure out why it's happening and also prevent it from happening, like weird ritual stuff that some cults are doing, that like sacrificing themselves and like doing all kinds of weird stuff, praying to the gods that sometimes don't listen, and the pantheon of gods, I would mention, in Pillars of Eternity is also very much on the malevolent side. A lot of them are not cool. They're not cool to their people. There's like one, I think, called Hylia, who is like the god of like art and maternity and stuff like that. Like that is the like one good god that you can be like, this god's pretty cool. And then the rest of them all have like this weird thing about them that makes them awful, or just, you know, evil, I guess. But yeah, overall, I would say though, it is a game with real time with pause too. So Pillars of Eternity will be one of those games that will take a bit to get used to if you're not used to the older Baldur's Gate or Icewind Dale kind of games where you combat pauses at the beginning, or you pause yourself manually, and then you issue commands and stuff like that, and then, you know, unpause, and then it just goes. But the benefit of being a more modern game is you can actually just tell all of your characters in your party to perform a certain way, and they'll just do that. They have like AI controls by the end of Pillars of Eternity. I didn't have to do much manually. I just watched the fight happen. That's mostly how the final fight went, actually, is like I had a little bit of like moving and repositioning going on, but the rest was pretty much automatic. So it can be as difficult or as challenging as you want it to be in that sense, which is nice, because if you play the older Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, you don't get that benefit as much. Even with the enhanced editions where the party does like autocast things, they still don't factor in friendly fire. So you can have your wizard shooting a fireball in as soon as your fighter starts running in and kill him instantly. Fortunately, Pillars accounts for that kind of thing, as far as I know. So you don't have to worry about reloading as much as you would with the classic games. I don't know if I'm hard selling Pillars of Eternity anymore. If you want more context on Avowed, it's a deep lore story. Like, you will only benefit from playing Pillars of Eternity if you're going to play Avowed. Maybe I should just say that. Besides just waffling on about other like random crap, I can go for a while, I suppose. Also, I've been working off and on for a long time now. I've approached a month of not releasing a guide video, and I feel like a piece of crap. A Fallout 4 rifles countdown is the thing that's cooking, and I got the Justice shotgun, and I went back to grab it from my locker to test it out, because once you have Le Fusil Terrible and then the Justice, like the French terrible shotgun completely crushes what Justice can do. But also, I chose the Penetrator perk, which really jacks up damage with some weapons. Like annoyingly so. Like, I'm supposed to be doing tons of damage with these shotguns, and they're doing roughly half of what they're supposed to do. Like, even if you go into VATS and say shoot like 3 times into the torso and it shows their health bar is gone, when the sequence plays, they lose slivers of their health. And I'm just like, what the frick? And I'm at the point to where, like, I know removing a perk is like an easy way to break stuff in Fallout 4 with console commands. How stats are baked into Fallout 4 makes it very difficult to revert things, and has some unforeseen consequences alongside of it. So I didn't do that, and instead I'm just kind of working through it. Long story short, I'm probably going to remove the Justice from the list, which is going to end up taking me more time, because now I have to decide. I had some other possibles, like the Experiment 18A, which is a plasma rifle you can get in the Institute, which is it's a solid weapon. And I don't remember. I wish I wrote down how much it was, but it might be pretty pricey too.
It costs a lot of caps.
Yeah. So, but I'm probably gonna add that one in, because I don't have any other. There's no other real like plasma weapons that are named unique. Yeah. Which is silly. There's the Sentinel's plasma caster, which is a pistol, or starts as a pistol. But yeah, so it's gonna take me more time. I have a lot of it written up already. I was very clever in some of my writing, But you know me. Writing is the most troubling part of the process for me. So it's been taking a long time. But sometimes I focus down and say some funny lines and stuff like that, and it's great. Comparing, the Le Fusil Terrible, the recoil on it, because it's absurd, to a donkey, and then adding mods is equivalent to putting stockings on that donkey, which makes very little difference. That kind of stuff. I think it's funny. It's gonna be funny. Gosh dang, please laugh, please clap. Like and subscribe. That's what I've been doing, mainly. I started a couple of games of Zomboid and Kenshi, but they're more like short-term escapism urges. Because Caedo's been going to therapy, and according to my therapist, I have a depression, which manifests in me wanting to escape real hard. So, because it's the worst it's ever been. But I'm having trouble finding that escape, so I'm just kind of hopping around and doing different things, including starting games in Kenshi and Zomboid. But yeah, that's basically what I've been doing. The Rifles countdown is in the works still. Like, I'm still making progress on it. It's just taking time. But I think that's it for me. Any final thoughts, Sarge?
I'm hungry. I'll want to know if I've got pizza in my freezer.
Nice. Now you're making me hungry talking about pizza. Tell us, commenters, are you hungry? Also, catch us in 2 weeks on the next PIPCAST 3000 every other Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific. Thank you again to my patrons, my supporters, and Wasteland legend Sven and Rose. And we will see you in a couple of weeks with another topic. Maybe being critical, maybe not. Bye-bye.